Well, we're talking to Michael Gardner, my friend and producer extraordinaire, musician extraordinaire. We've been talking about your life on the road with the band PKM, and you were in that for I think you said maybe about 5, 6, 7 years, something like that.
Yeah, 7 years, I think.
And then after PKM, where did life take you at that point?
Well, after that, my wife and I had bought a house in Raleigh, and it had a big space down in the basement, and so I was able to kind of from scratch. I mean, I couldn't make the ceiling taller in there, but I was able to make a nice recording studio. Okay. I mean, a really pro studio. And put it down there because, I had young children, and I was just burnt on being on the road.
So being on the road for year after year after year,
yeah.
That's not conducive to a good family life.
No, it's
good
not.
Home life for some strange reason.
It's not.
So you build the studio, and you wanted, and you had been thinking you liked the idea of being a producer.
Well, then I said, number one, I got to make a job for myself, and so if it wasn't music, I was going to be going into something really blind.
Okay.
And I felt like I could I gave myself a chance to succeed because I was doing what I loved and what I knew. And of course, after you get a studio, you learn a hell of a lot about what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so I produced bands, for a living, and otherwise, a couple of us that were writers, my brother Philip Gardner, who's a published writer, and Kenny Soul,
drummer,
and a guy named Robert Kearns, and a guy named Audley Freed. They both have extensive, successful music stories as well. They're both with Sheryl Crow right now.
I saw them with Sheryl Crow on TV, and I saw Audley, but I didn't know that Robert Kearns was also playing for Sheryl Crow.
Yeah,
okay.
Audley also played. I mean, he came around at a good time. The band that he was in, Cry of Love, had disbanded, and he got a gig with the Black Crowes back when they were doing the Zeppelin stuff.
Okay, right. Yeah.
But he said, of course, Audley's a very intense guy, so he went through those albums and he learned everybody's parts.
Yeah.
Guitar parts, bass parts, everything. Yeah, he did.
Right.
And he said when they started rehearsing with Jimmy, he said, "Well, you want me to play this part?" He went, I don't really remember playing that, but that sounds right. Yeah, just do that. But hearing some of his stories was great.
So you have this nice studio at your house.
Yeah.
You're making records, producing records for people, and you've gotten together with some cats, including your brother, and you play selected gigs as Gardeners of Soul.
Right.
Okay.
It was a writers group, really, and the main the main people that were writing were the Gardner boys and Robert.
Yeah, you and your brother.
And Robert Kearns,
right.
And of course, and Kenny Soul. I mean, I couldn't leave him out of that, but because it was a wonderful time of experimenting. And we could bring in a song. We'll go, hey, look, y'all, this should be a Tom Petty song. And so, being experienced musicians, we all kind of get that.
Right.
Well, this is what I don't want to do. This is what I need to do.
Gotcha.
And we left plenty of spaces for us to expand, and we weren't a band that had to play, the same song over and over again. And so we wrote songs for, and you'll notice when you listen to it, there's an Elvis Costello song on there.
Okay,
There's there's a Don Henley song on there. So, you'll recognize these because you're aware of it.
Well, and of course with your songwriting past, I know you've written songs for many people. I think even Dolly Parton. So, the point of the matter is, if someone says write a Tom Petty song or write a Elvis Costello or Don Henley, you kind of know what direction to go in.
Right.
To do that. So, how long does that last? That you're
oh gosh,
playing with those guys and I guess that overlap with your production, what you were doing as a producer, as well.
Right.
Okay.
The Gardners of Soul stuff. It was cool because we would usually do things in bunches of 3. Mm-hmm. And at one point, Kenny was in a band called DAG, which was huge over in Paris.
Okay.
And it was authentic funk rock.
Okay.
Yeah. But they they were going to be gone for several months, and so we said, Kenny, just we don't have time to have fully explored songs. Play 3 drum tracks and we'll write a song to it.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
And so we changed methods all the time.
Yeah.
Well, in these 3 songs, we each get 3 chances. Right. We're going to listen, we're going to learn, and then we're going to record.
Oh,
that's going to be the end of it.
Yeah.
If you did something embarrassing, we'll leave it out. We're not going to do more than that.
And we should point out that when you were doing that, everything was on tape, right?
That's right. At that point,
for those watching, in today's world, and what we recorded on these airwaves is digital,
right?
Okay, but back in the day, everything was on tape, and you didn't have the luxury of going back in and substituting like you can today.
Or auto-tuning, as we were talking about earlier.
Right. So you had to be good.
Well, and if you go back and listen to these records that were made in the 50s and 60s, mm-hmm. and in the 70s as well, mm-hmm. Those people could sing. They could play.
Yes.
And it wasn't, oh, can you fix that? It was, oh, let me sing that again. That's flat.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question, and that is, you talked about you guys would have different ways of writing songs. Do you have, on the songs that you've written professionally, did you have a particular methodology that you followed that tended to work for you, or did you change it up? And before you answer, I'll say that for me, when I write a song, I always feel like I have to put it on the instrument first, whether or not it's an acoustic guitar or electric guitar, kind of get that and understand what that is before I can come in and write lyrics. I can't do the lyrics first and come back. So that generally works well with me, getting that on a guitar first, and then you can expand it to, the keyboards and bass and drums and then lyrics. But do you have a methodology that you've used that works well for you, or do you change it up?
Well, I think that I was lucky because, of how we worked. I can kind of go either way, mm-hmm. Because the music the lyrics and the music have to be one thing. That you have to have the same bullseye that you're going on to hit.
Right. And
so, you don't want to put these wimpy "I love my girlfriend" lyrics over Metallica.
Right.
So it's got to be have some synergy to it. Mm-hmm. So sometimes the lyrics can come first, but when there's advantages in both. When the lyrics come first, your brain will tell you, what format the guitar should be in, mm-hmm. because if it's not, you don't want to sing "God Bless America" over, AC/DC.
Right.
So there was a real natural learning mm-hmm. curve, and my brother being such a prolific lyricist, mm-hmm. One of the cool things when I was living in California was we would trade tapes. I would make a tape of the music and send it to him, and next thing, 4 or 5 days later, I get a brand new song back. That I hadn't anticipated his melody or lyrics, but I don't know. It's a brother thing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I got a brotherhood with you, because I'll tell you what, working with you was just so easy. And I guess one thing that I try to think about, you always read, one of the great roles of the producer is try to get the best out of a musician. And I know there are different ways of doing it, but the way that you worked with me is that you made me and everybody else that was playing, with us feel very comfortable. Even though I might have had the suck knob on 10 on my guitar, no, you never made it. You never made me feel that I was that off. And I think you really. And if someone maybe didn't have the greatest take, you wouldn't lambaste them, but you'd be their biggest advocate and say, well, let's try it again and maybe do this. And so I hand it to you. I mean, you really understand the psychology of being a good producer, as well as compression and EQ and everything else.
Just no negativity. It's
no
all
negativity.
Positive.
Yeah. And I know not everybody works that way, but you did, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate that.
Well, it was us, man. It was a real team thing.
Well, when we recorded Sunset Provisions and Majors and Minors, we did them in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, at David Atwater's studios, the Sound Hole. How did you get to Myrtle Beach then?
Well, let me put it like this. Why does any single man move anywhere? A woman.
Okay.
I mean, that's the deal. No, I met my wife Jill. She still had some children at home. I didn't.
Yeah.
And they were all on their way out.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. I didn't really come in and try to be, a 16-year-old's dad.
Right.
That just ain't gonna get it.
No.
But I have a wonderful relationship with all my children. And I was telling these guys earlier, we have 9 grandchildren now.
Wow.
And one on the way.
But we're not getting any older. That's the main thing.
That's right, man. We're just on pause right now.
Is that gray hair? Is this a gray beard? I forget. Well, anyway, I'm so glad that you made it here, and and thanks so much for these stories. It's been, I really enjoy it.
Well, same
Thanks,
here.
Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah.